Welcome to New Game Plus, a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name's Kenny.
Nolan.
And you are listening to and or watching episode 260.
We have a YouTube.
Yeah, 260.
Yeah, we're still about at this 260.
What are you talking about? We're great.
We just are.
We're not.
We are.
I'm good.
We're quasi-professional.
We are now less than a month away from the end of Adobe Flash Player.
I thought that was already deprecated and dead and everything.
I think it's defecated, first of all.
It's
And
depreciated, you morons.
it ends at the end of 2020. I have regularly been getting alerts saying that the day is coming, and it's asking me to go ahead and delete it, but I will not preemptively delete
What is
that
it, like
thing.
Y2K? Why does this matter?
You like having a terribly insecure system in the meantime? Like,
Interesting.
there's
So
reasons they're turning it off.
why would we talk about Adobe Flash Player on a retro gaming podcast? Because, believe it or not, dear listener, dear Kenny and Nolan, Adobe Flash Player played a pivotal role in the gaming scene in the early 2000s. And you know that because you utilized Adobe Flash Player, and you need to show it the honor that it deserves.
I used it for RuneScape.
There was a generation that grew up
Yes.
wasting computer lab time by playing Flash games.
Excite Bike, or not Excite Bike, but like the one where you're going over the things and you have to balance the guy.
QWOP.
The Stickman
No,
game?
but
It's
like
kind of
that.
like QWOP, actually.
So what I want to do is mention a few key titles and see if you played them or have any connection to them. There are, of course, thousands because people made so many.
I like this.
Which is so nice, and they were all free.
I know.
Like, what
They
a
were all
good-
bad, but they were free.
No, not all of them.
No,
There were
there
so
were
many
some
that were
good
so
ones.
good.
Okay.
I'm gonna name a few key ones that I know of, titles that I connected to, and see if you. I didn't connect to every single one of these, but see if you have any connection to any of them. Starting with a game called that started on Flash called Bejeweled. Have you heard of it?
We've played it.
I mean,
Kenny hates it.
we did it on this podcast.
Kenny
It's
doesn't think it's a game,
overrated.
apparently.
No, I think I said
Yeah.
that. I don't know.
But it did start with Flash, so that's a big deal. One of our games
Sure.
that we played on this podcast
That's big,
started
yeah.
with Flash. Balloons.
Yes. The tower defense.
One of my so there is Balloons Tower Defense. I played straight up Balloons.
Yeah, I
and
know what
think
you're talking
that's one of the best Flash games.
So
Were you supposed
good.
to just like pop a bunch of balloons?
You're a little monkey, and
Yeah.
you've got these little darts that you have to
So
aim.
good.
But yeah, there's a tower defense one that I think started or was at the early edges of tower defense. Like,
Yeah.
and that became a huge
Yeah,
genre
yeah.
in and of itself. Club Penguin. I think
Yeah.
it missed
Yeah.
all of us. No, did it?
Yeah.
Nolan?
Yeah. All
Yeah,
of
Nolan's
these.
young
Dude,
enough.
computer
He
lab.
probably spent time on it.
I took
But
computer
Club
lab.
Penguin was after Kenny and I.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But like I used yes, a lot of computer
That's
time.
so funny. Club Penguin has a lot of funny meme material though. Like I loved watching that stuff. Meat Boy started on Flash. Did you know
Did it?
that before?
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
I didn't either.
before it was turned into like a fully fledged IP. It was on Flash.
Okay.
Actually, one of my favorite, and I think it's underrated, is a game called Motherload. Did either of you
Describe
know about it? You go deeper and deeper into the Earth's crust. There's different levels. You have to upgrade your drill and different components of your little drill machine so that you can go lower and lower. It's a really, really good time waster.
It doesn't ring a
game.
bell.
It's so good. I did have QWOP on the list.
Yeah. That one was infuriating though.
I don't know what
That
is.
one-
It
okay.
sounds like you're just making up like a.
Kenny doesn't even
alien
know what it
short story.
is.
Oh, it's the boomer version of Getting Over It. Have you heard of Getting Over It?
No.
Okay. Well then he's impossible, Dustin.
Watch,
I can't-
Kenny, you do know QWOP. It is just a little. It's a runner on a track, but you have to use the keyboard to maneuver his legs.
You do
and-
each of the legs
Yeah.
and the arms.
And it's
Yeah.
so hard.
Yeah, of course I know that game. I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah. Robot Unicorn Attack.
Oh!
Nolan, remember?
Yeah, they turned it into a mobile game, an app, like an
Yeah,
app.
yeah.
It's so good. So good.
So ridiculous. There are so many more. I have one more here. The Impossible Quiz.
I'm pretty sure we played that together.
A lot, probably, Kenny. There's Impossible Quiz 2. It's so much fun. So many ridiculous questions. and
I think I know. What
so
you're
enjoyable. There are so many great Flash games, and so you might disrespect Adobe Flash Player because it gives everybody our information or whatever you're saying, Kenny. But it was worth it for all the hours of fun that we got.
It was worth it
in the computer lab.
I pay my respects.
We do, yeah. In fact, let's a moment of silence as we fire off our 21 shotgun salute. Shotgun salute. Like in our retro game of the week, Blackthorne.
Overview.
Blackthorne, or Black Hawk, to some of you listening.
European audience.
Yes. Is a cinematic platformer.
Yay!
Already we're mad. We
love these games.
There's been one on the
love them
podcast.
so much.
There's been 2 on the podcast?
2.
Maybe 3.
3. Kenny, 3. Y'all go, boys.
Okay. Flashback.
Yes.
Oddworld.
Yes.
And Prince of Persia.
Yeah. That's right.
I forgot Prince of Persia, but yeah.
Prince of Persia
obviously.
started it.
That was early. Yeah. Okay.
Yo, hold on.
Prince of Persia.
Wait, what, Kenny?
Don't blame Prince of Persia for everything that
Oh,
came
I'm
after.
you have to. What?
Prince of Persia, I think, was the first cinematic platform video game.
I agree, but don't blame it for its predecessors.
All right. Was Jake Gyllenhaal Prince of Persia?
Yeah, don't watch it. Wait, yeah, he was.
He's the guy that they actually rotoscoped for the original game.
No.
So
the animation.
So this is his fault.
Yeah, they based.
So everyone, email Jake Gyllenhaal this week
at jgyllenhaal.com.
Might be hit. Listen, cinematic platformers are bad. We'll get to that. We'll get to it. This is a Blizzard game. This is a console game by Blizzard. And this was like, we kind of freaked out about this last week because I had never heard of a Blizzard game on a console before. They make PC games, or they're known for extremely quality PC games. And it came out in 94.
We're known for.
We'll say that again?
I just said we're known for.
Oh, wow. Shots?
StarCraft. Yeah, WoW was one, like you just said, Nolan. StarCraft.
D4 is coming out sometime.
Diablo.
Okay.
Right.
This game, though, was on Super Nintendo and Windows, or like DOS. I guess.
Yeah.
So, and that was in 94. So, like, weird. It wasn't published by Blizzard unless they own Interplay. Maybe they don't, but it wasn't published by Blizzard, but it was developed by them. Now, this isn't like platformer where you, like Metroid or something, or Mario. Cinematic platformers are telling a story. And they look like platformers, but they're liars. Because
that's true. They're
liars.
Yeah.
Deceptive platformers.
It's a totally different genre.
Yeah, it's much slower paced, and it's interrupted often by many different things.
Climbing up ledges, primarily.
Climbing up ledges.
Falling back down them.
Falling really slowly, crouching down to pick up an item, and then the screen changing to show you what you picked up, like that kind of things. Just a slow version of a platformer. It's a very weird genre, I think.
In most of these, they try to mimic real movement. You know, like the body sizes of your characters are kind of comparable to our true body sizes. Even in Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, where you're an alien species, it's the same thing. You are on 2 legs and you move at a regular pace, but to get down a ledge, you're not just jumping like you would as Mario or someone else. You are climbing down one ledge at
Safely,
a time.
Yeah. And
you have to get on the right tile to be able to properly do that. And they call it a platformer because you do have to jump across platforms and climb up and down platforms, but that's really the only connection, that there are platforms in the game, which, hey, there's also platforms in Skyrim.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't just because you have a platform in your video game doesn't make it a platform.
I think we need a new name for this genre. What's it going to be? Cinematic
ledge climb sim.
Cinematic simulation. Ooh,
okay.
That sounds
SS?
good.
R? Now, the plot of this game is straight from the Bible.
Is
Have you
it?
heard of Jacob and Esau?
This is them.
Okay, so yeah, there are. It's really weird, and I'm not going to get too into it. I'll start with your main character. If you're looking at the box, you're like, wow, that character is really bad A. Kind of looks like Doom, dark looking thing. The guy's name's Kyle. So
He looks like he's a Terminator, and then he's got the name Kyle.
Kyle is his name.
Well, sure.
And then like all the other characters in this game are named like Sarlacc and Vlaros and something like fantasy sounding, and he's Kyle.
Sure. Well, because you're not giving his backstory. It makes total sense.
Well,
So
we
I don't-
didn't have time to read there. I think the first 20 pages of the manual is the story.
It's just
Blizzard wrote a
lore.
20-page narrative to set up this.
As
plot.
they do. I'm
They
down
really
with
do.
it. I like story, but it's not like RPG story where you're uncovering all of this stuff. Maybe you viewed this game that way. I didn't. But the basic setup is like there are these two brothers. Their father doesn't know who to give the kingdom to. He leaves them in a desert, kills himself, but before he does, he's like, you have a kingdom, figure it out. Bunch of drama. People aren't happy with the kingdom, and Kyle now has to go back to this. It's not on Earth, by the way. It's on this like planet, and Kyle has to go back and save the day.
Cool, but definitely spelled Tuul. Because we're fantasy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, for a second though, the game begins where like Kyle is back on Earth, sitting by a roadside, just waiting to go to this new planet, and then the spirit comes and gets him and takes him. So like Kyle's been living on Earth for probably 20 years and is in jeans, in a white tank top, and has a shotgun, and now he's going to this fantasy dungeon with orcs and goblin type situation.
They were
Right.
trying to relate
He's-
to the average American.
he's from Earth.
No,
White
He's not
t-shirt,
from
jeans,
Earth.
and a gun.
he
He is coming back from 20 years spent on Earth. Of course, he's going to be dressed appropriately.
It's a weird story to summarize everything, and there's a lot to it if you want to read into it, but I'm not going to spill it for you right now.
the only thing you need to know is
His name's Kyle. Yeah.
Gameplay.
in Blackthorn, you have 4 worlds and 17 stages, at least on the Super Nintendo version and the DOS version. For the Sega 32X, they added a whole nother world and some additional
why not?
content. Because
A lot of
who
reasons.
would want this game to be longer? You've got 4 worlds, 17 stages. The first world is like these Sarlacc mines. It's the mines where not the humans, but the Androthi which are your species, your humanoid species, are being enslaved and put to work by just electrocuting the ground every couple of seconds is what they're
I
doing.
never understood that.
It didn't make any sense.
No.
And so you're in the mines. You would think you're freeing your people, and I think that's kind of what's happening, but it doesn't have the unique turn that Oddworld does, where you are rescuing your people and setting them free. Here, you're just kind of throwing grenades at doors, bursting them open, and maybe even accidentally shotgunning your own people in the head.
Oh,
and
every time.
occasionally killing someone.
Every time.
Yeah.
I have a question. Why in this genre are you always rescuing people from like cages? Every game we've played, it does that. Maybe Prince of Persia didn't, but
Prince of Persia didn't, but that's just what we do in cinematic simulations.
why? You're the hero to save your people? Who cares? I'd rather just shoot orcs all day.
I feel like here's the thing, with the limitations that the genre places on itself, there's not much you can do. And
That's a
so
good point.
you can only slowly fight, and then they've got to come up with something else or it's going to be boring, and so they put rescuing people in it.
Yay. Okay. That's
mean,
a good explanation. That's probably why.
You don't have just slowly fighting in this game.
Sure you
There's
do.
a few more options than sometimes there are. There's rolling on the ground.
So exciting.
There's climbing up ledges.
Woo!
There's interacting with other people and talking to them.
I can't contain
There's
it.
using keys and other interactable items. There is shooting behind you, which you don't really have any use for.
A no-look
and it's a little
shoot.
bit
It
of a
looks
harder
cool.
button combination.
Yeah, but slow down on that because that's cool. It doesn't do anything,
No.
But I've not seen it in another video game where just to up the BA ante, Kyle, which I'll just call him, you can call him Blackthorne if you want. He doesn't turn around. He just one hand takes his shotgun, places it behind his back, and blows whatever is there behind
A
him.
no-look shot.
Which
It's
do you
kinda
understand
great.
how much muscle and like
It'd break
well,
your
I mean, it's
arm off.
impossible. I mean, Kyle can do it, but
He's he's strong. He's not human. He's fine.
he's a
but,
draw thief.
but then all of those actions culminate in the really high intensity sort of anchor of this game's gameplay, and that is gunfights.
Yes.
Because in this game you can dodge bullets,
Not by ducking.
not by ducking, not by jumping, not by creating a matrix style force field or eating them like a magician. Simply
What?
by like
What game is that?
Tanuki Mario style, like standing back where you remove yourself from kind of the main plane of action to like go to the side and be in a plane that's further back on the screen.
Which in reality makes no sense.
No,
That doesn't make you disappear from the people you're fighting.
You have to hide behind.
No, if somebody's
something.
aiming at you though, and then you go like this, like their bullet will come right here. I totally get it.
But don't you think after the first time, maybe the second time, they'll be like, you know what? I'm just gonna shoot on this plane.
Okay, Tool, the world of Tool exists in a 2D universe. We can't enforce our 3D
Hey, you're getting too deep.
oppressive worldview onto them. That's
feel ya.
xenophobic.
Here's the
feel
thing about the gunplay. I'm glad it was there because in other cinematic platformers, I feel like stealth is the way to play it, especially in Abe's Odyssey.
Abe's Odyssey.
That is like it highlights stealth and it kind of encourages it. But in this one, like, I don't know, orcs all over. Yeah, I'll get in a gunfight with you and I'll use the wall to hide, sure. Like, at least that's more exciting to me than just rescuing people and trying not to be seen.
It would be more exciting to me if there was some level of, I don't know, like strategic interaction, or if it wasn't as slow paced as it was. But what it ends up being is making sure you have your gun out correctly, because we forgot, as we were talking about gameplay, that you have two different modes of gameplay: carrying the gun out, which allows you to do one set of things, and putting your gun holstered, which allows you to do all your mobility things. But when you have your gun out ready to fight, you got to take it out, and then it takes a little bit of while to move back to the safe animation. And then the only real way to do it is to just sort of wait for the enemy to quit shooting at you and then shoot them. And so it's a lot of standing around, kind of just gaming the mechanics, and it didn't ever feel like dynamic to me. The whole point of platformers classically, and I know we already said this isn't a platformer, but is this real-time reaction to the stuff that's going on the screen. You're jumping, you're ducking, you're hitting a flying turtle and bouncing off of it to another level, and this is literally the opposite of that.
It's slower pace. Again, that's what we do with our cinematic simulations. Is it's not you're not going to be speed running through this game, or if you are, it's going to be a very different speed run than traditional platformers.
Yes.
Because really, this is more of a puzzle not even a cinematic puzzle game.
Yes, that's actually a better category, maybe.
Because a cinematic puzzle simulation.
Puzzling exploration.
Even from the gunplay, you're puzzling out when it's not a chess. It's maybe rock, paper, scissors a little bit, in the sense of you're just waiting for them to cock their gun again, and then you come back out. Later on, you're fighting some Androthi, some of your own people that are rebels, and they're a lot tougher. I think they're on some kind of random how many times they fire, and then they hide in the background too if we didn't specify that. And so you're just having to wait for the proper moment, and you're going to take a lot of damage there. But then even to maneuvering through the stages, it's all puzzle based. You are having to talk to your enslaved people to everyone, which is frustrating because so many of them just have the same thing to say over and over again. But eventually you'll find one that's like, hey, here's a grenade, or here's a bomb. And then every once in a while, someone will say, hey, here's a key. And you'll use those keys to open a door, or to put out a
cross
walkway.
a bridge.
Cross a bridge.
Yeah, like a laser bridge.
You've got little items that help like levitate you to a higher area.
Yeah.
You've got a kind of fun mechanic where you have
Don't
these
say
bombs. Fun. I said
Watch
kinda.
out.
Like the
Give me that
wasps?
look. Where with the wasps, where like you have an explosive, but you can like place it somewhere specific because it's somewhere harder to reach. So there's a few things that are certainly unique about the kind of puzzle aspects of it. And I will say, in some other cinematic, whatever we're calling these games, some of that puzzling and exploration has depended a lot on like massive amounts of backtracking. Go find this thing over here, go back through all of the level to get this thing, then go over here and find this door. I felt like the level design here for these puzzles was actually really good. You didn't have a ton of that, a little bit, but you have to have some of that in this kind of world. The stuff that you needed was relatively close to the places you used it. And I had to be thinking and looking at the environment. And a few places I'd be like frustrated and like check a guide because I knew I could get through it, but who's got time for that playing for just a week? And so I don't know. I thought it was well designed for the type of puzzles it is.
Well, for a puzzle to be engaging and interesting, to me it has to be more than just opening a door to get to a new area. And that's what the majority of these puzzles are. And not only that, you said there's keys, yes, but a lot of the things, like, you just blow up. Doors, like a computer, there's a computer at one point that's like got a laser door blocking. You're like, cool, I probably need a password or something. Nah, you just blow it up. Like, you just blow the computer up, door opens, you're like, okay. So
I mean, you are
like
staging a revolution, basically, like freeing your enslaved people. There's usually a lot of violence that comes.
Lore-wise, yeah, I guess I buy that, but I didn't know that's what we were doing here. I mean, I guess the emphasis on realism applies to that as well. But I even struggle to call it a puzzle. I agree with you, Dustin, what you're saying, that it's not a platform, it's more of a puzzler. I just wish the puzzles were better.
We're a little bit more comprehensive. And the thing that I would tag onto that is that it doesn't change as the game progresses. By in the final areas, you're still blowing up doors, blowing up computers. You've got, we didn't say, but your shotgun is upgraded eventually a couple times. Still, I think at the end it becomes like this automatic shotgun that you don't have to reload, and that the bullets explode upon impact. Just a ridiculous like boo 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 boo.
So it's just like amazing.
I want one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes amazing.
Okay.
Just imagine shooting that behind you with one arm, just an automatic.
your whole arm.
Casually looking behind you and blowing up
man.
anything.
But one of my frustrations with any platformer is when either your character doesn't evolve or the stage doesn't evolve, the game doesn't evolve, that have different challenges. I've said that many times. And while your gun evolves, it doesn't change the gameplay any. And the stages don't really change. They become more difficult. You fight increasingly difficult trash mobs, whatever, but you don't. The game doesn't really change.
It doesn't. And the problem with that, the added layer on top of that, is that, and you mentioned this earlier, I think, the game's very picky about positioning and where your character is in order to interact with something. So when you're seeing the same layout over and over, but you still can't stand in the right spot to jump up on a ledge or to climb a ladder or to do whatever, I'm just like...
Or to make the jumps. That's the most frustrating one, is because early on you're not punished too terribly much, because fall damage only like comes into play when it's significant. Like, you can fall a little bit here in this game, which is good, but if you're going to get to ledges and you're going to try to make the jump thinking that you made it, but if you weren't standing on the right pixel, the right tile, whatever, you're not going to make the jump. And then when you have to start bringing running jumps into the mix, then it's even more difficult to get the timing right. And later, if you're not making those jumps, you're dying, and then you only have one life, so you're using your password system to come back in. It becomes very frustrating, but that is problematic with this cinematic puzzler platform simulation genre that we're talking about.
That's the big problem.
It really is. And it's the nature of how they tried to animate it and that hyper realism. It's hard to do that without sort of breaking that look. But I don't think it's an excuse. I think the genre should have evolved and sort of fixed that issue, because it really is one of the things that kills it. All of those like complaints about the genre said, I will say, like, gameplay wise, this is put together pretty well. The menuing and the controls are pretty intuitive. Like, the stuff you do makes sense, and you have a decent number of options we already talked about. And so I really felt like they did spend a lot of time trying to make this robust. I just don't know if that's enough to get over some of the just inherent difficulties of this pace that we're stuck in.
And in all that you're talking about, I do think the genre has evolved some. One of the games that's just coming to mind that is this kind of, maybe we wouldn't.
Are you thinking Limbo?
I'm thinking Limbo. And you don't have the same proportions of the physicality there, of like they're trying to do the full body. So maybe that's where it's different. But it is a cinematic platformer. Well, and that's the evolution, maybe, that it's, you take away a little bit of the realism and you up the puzzles a little bit, because Limbo, it's different all the way through. It's a short game, a short enough game that it doesn't become repetitive.
More platformer than before.
More platformer than before, more puzzles than before. And so they're able to do more than just do a little bit of fighting and rescuing somebody. You're doing different things.
Cinematic
Brothers,
platformer?
What, Kenny? That's puzzler.
Maybe? I probably wouldn't say. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to, once you jump out of 2D, to think that it still works.
Sure. So I just think that we're all kind of falling in the same place. That, like, I agree that for a cinematic puzzle, whatever we're doing with the genre, right?
I thought you had decided.
Well, I keep tagging on things to it, and so it's become the longest name in the world. Like, it does what it's trying to do well. That's what I would say. I think what they're going for, it hits a lot of those marks, but I think that it becomes repetitive, that there's not much to change, especially, hey, you stay in that mine area for far too long.
Oh, like, dude.
And the levels are long, especially if you're not going to the right place right after, you know, like if you get lost, you're screwed. Yeah. And I think there's even times where you can accidentally throw a bomb where you shouldn't have, and then you're not going to be able to progress. So you press pause, and when you do, the menu comes up saying give up. And then you can give up and start it over again. That's frustrating.
I think I soft locked myself too.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, like I couldn't progress anymore, and I was like,
that's not okay.
That's not a good mechanic.
Easy fix as well, because you can't lose keys. Or can you kill a guy before he gives you a key? I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
Problematic.
Aged.
Okay. It does have Blizzard quality.
In what way?
Most areas. So we usually talk about graphics and music, and we're gonna. But just from feeling alone, I was like, all right, like a major studio for sure made this, because the animations were really quality, and like we said earlier, the story was well thought out. I mean, it's ridiculous, but most video game stories are ridiculous. Like, they spent time trying to build lore and build a world that their audience would think is really cool. And so, like, yeah, that reminds me of Blizzard in a lot of ways.
Does tough BA jeans, combat boots, tank top, does that work for y'all? That genre? Okay, so that's not what I'm asking.
I mean, in 1994 it did.
For you? You're like, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it was
Terminator,
super classic, iconic.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, cool guy. Yeah.
But that never worked for me, even back in 1994.
I like it. I mean, to now it's always been cheesy, but now it's just like, okay, like, put a shirt on. But I like it. I think it's
he never took his sunglasses off either, and we never said that. That's very important to this.
Yeah, it's got to be so dark down there already. Yeah, no, it kind of appealed to me. Especially like
Okay.
Doom. More of the like demonic stuff appealed to me. I wanted to
Yeah.
play those games.
Okay, so now we know why you're the way that you are. I would say though that is an aging factor. Kenny, you even said if it appeals to people back in 1994, but not necessarily in 2021 soon, like then that's something that does age.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
feel like
Here we go.
I don't feel like this game has aged poorly just because the character like lived in mid 90s sort of character stereotype. It's super playable today. It's ambient. It looks good.
Wait a minute.
Like
Well, I didn't say all that.
the game itself has aged really well. I don't know if the genre has aged well.
Oh, it certainly hasn't. But I also think the game hasn't.
We have played a game fairly recently where Kenny had the exact argument that I have, so the opposite of what he's saying now, where because it was a product of its time, he felt like it wasn't good for today.
Here's the
remember.
thing about my opinions.
Oh, yeah?
They're trash.
They exist.
Yeah.
Okay, they exist.
And I believe that they're really good.
Well, okay, let's break it down a little bit. So the graphics,
Yeah.
I like this look, this pixel look. Trying to think of what it reminds me of. It kind of reminds me of Contra in some ways, just in like the earthiness of that first area in the mine. But like I said earlier, the animations are realistic. I mean, it looks just like Prince of Persia's jumping animation.
It does.
It's not necessary, but
the blocky platform style does have a sort of like PC vibe. It doesn't surprise
Oh,
me that a
for
game
sure.
that developed for both, or a company that developed for both, was behind this.
Yep.
Because at a glance, I wouldn't be like, this is for sure Super Nintendo. I might have been like, like freeware back in the day.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's kind of the look it has.
And I'm cool with that. I think it looks really good.
Looks
No,
PC,
that's not a problem.
looks PC, looks Blizzard, and done really well. In fact, I think like some of the cutscenes for a Super Nintendo cartridge are pretty impressive.
Yep.
Like, so much good work done there, and it does, lean more on that Diablo kind of like demonic, dark, gothic
Yeah,
side.
it's
that was
just
their
a
thing.
darker tone to the world.
They did it the
But-
best.
And even though I thought the environments did look good, I just thought because you're in them for so long and there's only 4 of them, it gets old. I know I'd already mentioned that. Did y'all feel the same way there?
Oh, absolutely.
What, the tone? What gets old?
No, just like spending too long per environment.
Oh, for
So
sure. Oh, yeah, yeah.
environments are good, but you're there too long. So
staring
then
at
it's
it.
like, okay. And so I think that's the same way with music. Maybe you like the music, you can talk about that and geek out about it, but there are only 7 songs in the entire soundtrack. Only 7.
Wow.
So there's 4 stages in the game, only 1 song per stage. And again, you're on that. It's a 6-hour game, I think,
It's
if
6,
you
yeah.
go straight through. And so you're spending a couple of hours on each stage listening to the same track over and over again. So there's
Yeah.
4: a title theme, a cutscene theme, and then your final boss battle. Those are the 7 tracks.
Yeah.
They did make these to be repetitious. Like they're ambient kinds of tracks that aren't super like melody driven. And so I didn't find it at least felt like they were trying to do things that weren't going to be grating when you listen to it for a long time. And I really liked the song on the first level. Never really got sick of it.
I
I
liked
felt like
it
it
too.
set the pace and the tone well. But when you got to the second world, that one was a little heavy-handed, and I started to notice the repetition and went like, I don't know if this music is going to be as good as I thought it was going to be.
I'll tell you what
And-
would have helped. Is like if you know how some Metroidvanias have like save rooms and then they have like different music for those save rooms
Yeah.
or like secret areas. So there are secret areas in here, like behind waterfalls and stuff. Like you can go in there and save somebody and pick up items and stuff. Like that could have had some really chill and cool music that would break up the monotony, and just
That's
to
a
have
good
like
idea.
small tracks here and there, that would have helped. But they just didn't. 7
Do you
for the
have
whole
any-
game
Yeah, for the entire game,
is
bro.
low. That's low.
Do you know how many songs are on the Super Metroid OST, since you just brought that up?
Probably a ton. I don't know.
I don't. I just looked 34.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's a comparison there.
Yeah, and they're all
same
bangers.
console. But 34 versus 7, dude. 7 is not much.
That's interesting because we talked about music as like, yeah, we liked it or we didn't. I think it's so necessary for games though. It like,
oh yeah, sure.
like that's a great example. That game, Metroid does atmosphere better than anyone, and they do it with music oftentimes, with other things too. And there was potential here, and I feel like they missed it.
I think one other area that you notice the age is with the saving function, and the fact that there is no save function, that you've only got the password system, and it's a simplistic password system, which is good. So it's not like you're having to do we've had some crazy password systems on our podcast so far, but it's only like 6 letters that you have to know the combination. But
it's not bad.
But I think it just sets you at the beginning of that stage, which is not the most frustrating, but some of these stages are long.
For mid 90s, if you're not like, if you don't have the option to save like per where you are, I feel like it's not the worst way to do it. If I was working through this game, at least I wouldn't have to replay the whole thing. You know, you get to a big plot moment, it's short enough that you can literally memorize it and not even have to go scramble for a notebook, which is welcome. And you could just keep playing. Again,
save rooms.
That doesn't translate super well to 2020, but I don't think it was like poorly done.
Well, and your Super Nintendo, you got the ability to save
rooms. Just put them here and there. Yeah.
Wait, honestly, we're Super Nintendo. Why are we doing passwords?
94. It's like it's been out a little bit.
It's been out. You think it was passwords on DOS as well?
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm not going to put in a password on my computer.
It may not have been, but I'd bet it was.
Well, you can get the cartridge, the Super Nintendo cartridge, for $35 for the game alone. That's a little bit up there. We've seen more, or $159, $160 we'll call it, for brand new box, booklet, cartridge. So it's a little bit more pricey, but hey, that's what you get for it's Blizzard, you know. Oh, but also you can play Blackthorn in the Blizzard client.
Yeah, you can. They have like a retro thing built into the client where like you can play like Diablo 2 through the client. This game, yeah.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. Does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. I'll begin by simply saying that it's not enough fun to be enjoyable by everybody. And I don't know entirely if it's Blizzard's fault. I think it is the genre. This genre had to evolve, and it did. And there are a lot of people that enjoy this kind of new and improved genre today with Limbo and other games like that. But where it was in the 90s was not yet refined enough to have, in my opinion, a mass appeal, especially for today's audience. There are some things that Blizzard did well here. You might be able to attach it to Blizzard and know it's Blizzard by when you play it, but you might not. And while it is an interesting environment and it's got a cool little story behind it, and nothing that's done is done poorly, it's just not everything that they finalized and gave us isn't fun enough to last for multiple gaming sessions. So I do not give it my vote for New Game Plus status. Nolan, who's the bigger Blizzard boy?
Kenny, I think.
Probably
okay.
Me.
That's what I was gonna say. I'll leave it to him last. Speaking of though, what's your favorite flavored Blizzard Dairy Queen?
Ooh, Reese's.
Probably the same.
You too, Dustin.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
best.
me too.
It's way better.
It's so good.
Oh, it's so good. But the Snickers one is good.
Yes,
one
it
yeah,
is.
and
I like
Cookie Dough's
Oreo.
good. There's a few
Cookie Dough's
options,
good too. Yeah,
but Reese's is worth that.
Blizzards are good. I love
I
Blizzard,
wanna
but I do
go
think
now.
Kenny loves Blizzard even more. So
okay.
turn it upside down for us, Kenny.
Okay, so this one is not a New Game Plus status game for me. It wants to be a good game. It certainly is made with quality and care, and it shows. But I can't tell people today go out and play it. For this genre, it's not as groundbreaking as Flashback or Prince of Persia, for that matter. It doesn't have the heart and humor of something like an Oddworld. And though because of the quality, I'm not surprised that Blizzard was involved, there's a reason that a bunch of other Blizzard games then went on to become franchises, and this was just a game that happened because no one actually wants to play it. The genre is fun for the storytelling, but like, no one's having fun hopping up ledges. No New Game Plus.
All right, so that's 2 no's. Nolan, land the Blizzard plane.
I will never give cinematic platformers New Game Plus.
That's rude.
That's all I have to say. It's not
that
for
is
me.
xenophobic, honestly.
At some point, it'll be 15 years from Limbo having existed.
I don't know if I like Limbo. Never played it.
Whoa.
You would like it a lot, honestly.
You would eat your words.
It's probably poo-poo. I'm not playing it.
It's don't say that word on my podcast. So that means that Blackthorn, the game with Kyle in it, is not New Game Plus certified. But what did you think? We had many of you write in. I'll include a few of those commentaries here right now. Garlisle said, "It's heavy metal fantasy Prince of Persia with a dose of guns for good measure. And also, all the people you meet walked off the cover of a romance novel. It's also a more playable experience than I expected. Unlike most of the genre, it rarely wants to instantly kill you. That is true. I'm saying. That is true. Back to Garlisle. It's still tough, though, if not just due to the sheer length of some levels. And I'm not so sure it's really worth it. Maybe I just wasn't that interested in the aesthetic. Maybe the levels just didn't have enough variety. Maybe something else, but I didn't feel much of an urge to finish it."
Has anyone beat this game before?
Of course, Nolan.
Ooh!
Ever.
A lot of people.
I don't have any names.
Developed it.
And you can't give me a name?
All right, Chris. I promise you, Chris is beating this.
Who's Chris?
You don't know Chris? I do like what Garlisle pointed out. That's so true, that it is not looking for a way to instant kill you, and that is so welcomed here.
Oh,
because
sure.
some of
You get
these
a little
games,
bit of a health bar.
Oh
You
yeah,
got,
right.
Like potions to refill your health.
You get a lot of potions to refill your health from your people, and your health bar expands. I think after you beat the first world, the wizard.
Y'all give it
expands
New
your
Game
health.
Plus.
And you said there's no evolution in gameplay.
Saint Minister said, "What might have some traction as an early Blizzard curiosity is brought to a regrettable halt by its monotonous style of combat. Instead of creatively developing its tactical approach, Blackthorn settles for a repetitious chore of counting shots and popping off. Much like its awkward mashup of fantasy and sci-fi, the game fails to really harmonize this with its otherwise decent problem-solving elements. With the seeds of something unique clearly traceable across its stages, I'd call this one a missed opportunity. No NGP."
Yeah, I think they both hit really good truths about this game. It could have been better. It's a little bit plotty and hard to kind of feel connected to, even though the story's good. And so I get it.
Really been aligning with our community lately, kind of exactly what we've been saying. They've been saying probably better than us.
Oh yeah, way better. You kidding me?
George said, "A great game for its aesthetic alone. I love the ambient music, the BA protagonist, and brutal villain. Visuals clearly took priority over fluidity of control. Thankfully, the first part of this game seems to take this into account. As it progresses, I found myself getting annoyed and bored with repetitive gameplay and tedious jumps. However, I would give it NGP because it's a very cool game and it's a work of visual art."
No, you wouldn't.
George would.
No.
He also said, "P.S. The name Kyle means the chosen one."
In Greek? What? Look, no, that New Game Plus is invalid because it's one of those votes where it's like you do it because it's like you feel like you have to respect something. Like people do that with movies a lot, and it's just not true.
George, I believe
Of the Jungle.
You're allowed your opinion.
And finally, SNES is Life says, it's great going back to this game as I just discovered it myself a couple years ago. Blizzard made a number of great games for the SNES. Rock and Roll Racing, The Lost Vikings, and this. I was immediately taken in by its excellent animation, dark setting, and solid music, at least for a while.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everything gets fairly repetitive quickly. I really enjoyed ducking into the shadows and having the duels with the baddies, seeing who could kill the other first. As far as cinematic platformers go, this one is solid, though the levels are too long and start to drag. I think it's worth playing if this style is your thing, so it is NGP for me.
No, it's not. In this
That's the one
case,
invalidated as well.
in this case, SNES is death.
He put the caveat of, if this is your genre, you're going to like this one. And I think that's certainly true. It's a well-made version of this genre. Just the three of us know better than to like this genre.
No, I get it. If this genre is your genre, and if this game is a game you like, then you'll probably like this game.
There are
if
no
you
people.
like this game, you're going to like it.
There are, Nolan. There are. They're telling you right now.
No.
So thank you so much for sending in your thoughts and commentary on the Retro Game of the Week. You can do that each week. Send your thoughts to ngppodcast@gmail.com or drop into our Discord in the commentary channel there. We'd love to include your thoughts next week. But for now, we're going to set aside Blackthorn and we're going to randomly select our next Retro Game of the Week that we'll be playing for the next 7 days from our Retro Master list, user-submitted, user-generated list of games 15 years old or older from any console, any genre, except cinematic, puzzle,
Please.
Simulation platformer. Randomizing now. We're going to be playing an action-adventure game that came out in 1992.
A cinematic action adventure game?
No. This one is exclusive Sega Genesis. How often do we have that?
Not
too
often.
often.
I get hyped for Sega Genesis, though.
Heck yeah.
Well, you should, because this was developed by Climax. So, what? You don't want to say anything?
No.
It was published by Sega.
Okay.
It's let's see. It is
Sonic.
a video game,
Oh.
and it is called.
Wow.
I'll give you the subtitle first.
Yes.
The Treasures of King Noel. Nole,
Me?
which is yep. I think that is you, buddy.
Oh no.
The game is called Landstalker. Anything?
Nothing. What?
Yeah, nothing.
What?
I got 0 on this one.
Yeah, I don't either. And I would know Sega exclusives, I think, or Genesis exclusives. Wow. Who's Climax? What have they done?
I've never heard of Climax.
I feel like I have.
Before.
Okay. Find a copy of... Okay, just kidding.
Find a copy of Landstalker, The Treasure of King Nolan, and play it along by Climax. Play it along with us this week.
I'm worried about memes in Discord about me being in this game. Speaking of Discord, go to ngppodcast.com and click join us in Discord to take part in our amazing community that helps this podcast thrive just based on people playing games with us and talking about stuff. So see you there.
Speaking of Patreon, join us at patreon.com and be like some of our favorite people, patrons who support this show on an ongoing basis, like our newest producer level supporter, Mr. Lattes. Welcome back.
Welcome.
Our wonderful director level supporter who goes above and beyond in supporting the show in so many different ways, Garlisle, as well as our growing group of producers, Amarlian, Austin, Ben, Brojim, Carrie, David, Dear Baby, Francesca, Corey, Maxima, Shauna, William, and Zion.
Kyle.
You guys are truly, I was going to say one of a kind, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
No,
6, 7, 8,
a dozen
bunch
or
of a
so.
kind. Yeah. Thanks so much for your support.
You can always follow us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. You might even be watching this via video. Again, very clearly, we have a YouTube channel where you can see our video content and see our faces as we do our video episodes as well. You can see and measure Kenny's growing beard length.
It's so big.
COVID has done things to my face.
Oh show. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, leave a kind rating and review. This episode was edited and produced by our good friend Tom Tate. Join us next week as we play Landstalker. Until then, I'm still Dustin.
I'm Kenny.
I'm out.
And this has been New Game Plus.